Hi, welcome to Whittle Tweaks. I'm Carrie Whittle, and this channel is about small changes you can make to the way you use a computer to save you time. Today we're going to cover 3 basic ways that you can use a keyboard rather than a mouse to make you faster at editing text. I'm going to introduce these 3 techniques first, and then I'll demonstrate them. The first time-saving technique is using your keyboard rather than a mouse to move around text, like the text in a document or an email. The second technique is using the Shift key to select portions of text. And the third technique is using basic keyboard shortcuts, and I'm going to show 3 of those to you today. Let's talk about moving around the text first. The arrow keys are helpful for when you want to move up or down a line or two, or left or right a few characters, several characters. Also, if you hold one of the arrow keys down, it will move slowly in that direction first, the cursor will, and then it'll speed up, just so you know. The home and end keys are useful for when you want to change something near the beginning or the end of a line. And if you're using a Mac, you don't have home or end keys, but you can use command left arrow like a home key on a PC and command right arrow like the end key. It may not seem like it would be faster to use the keyboard rather than the mouse to move around a document, but it really is. I mean, if you're just doing one little change to a document, then the difference is probably negligible. But if you have lots of different changes that you want to make, then those little differences really do add up, and it can save you considerable time. Also, you may be a little bit slower at this at first, but you'll get faster with practice, and before long you won't even need to look at your keyboard to be able to find those arrow, home, and end keys with your hands. I'll show you what I mean when we put this into practice in a minute, but first let's talk about those other 2 methods that I mentioned. The next one is using the Shift key to select portions of text. If you hold down the Shift key and press the arrow keys or the home or end keys, then it'll cause the text from where the cursor was when you began to where it was when you end to be highlighted, to be selected. So that text then, the highlighted text, whatever action you take next, will be applied to all of that highlighted or selected text. And I'll demonstrate this again right after we talk about those 3 keyboard shortcuts that I mentioned that can really come in handy. The 3 keyboard shortcuts are those for copying, cutting, and pasting text. To copy the selected text, hold down the Control key and press the letter C. The shortcut way of writing or saying this is Control C. To cut the selected text, use Control X, and to paste the selected text, use Control V. On a Mac, you do have a Control key, but that won't work. Instead, you're going to use the Command key. So you would do Command C for copy, Command X for cut, and Command V for paste. Let's see what I mean by now putting into practice what I was talking about. I've got a Word document here that I created, and we're just going to follow along in the instructions to practice using these 3 techniques. Number 1 says, fix the errors in the following sentences using the keyboard only. So I'm going to use the down arrow to get to where that first error is over at the end of this first line, and then the end key to go to the end, left arrow over, and then I'm going to backspace and type the G to replace that K. That one's done. Let's go to the next one, down arrow, and then home key because my error is at the beginning. Right arrow over, or right arrow. Man, error and arrow are too similar to be using them both in the same at the same time. Delete and then typing in the EA to fix that one. Down arrow, end, left arrow over to quiet and change that to quite. Down arrow again, end key to get way over to the end of the line there. Left arrow and then backspace the Y. Down arrow one more time, home key because our error this time is at the beginning. And then right arrow and type in the E there. All right, we've got all the errors corrected. Now, using only the keyboard to select the words, change the color of the red words to black. And then we're going to need to use the mouse to actually change the color. But we're just going to use the keyboard to select the words. Since I'm here right at this red word here, I might as well do this one first and go up. So I held down the shift key. I should have explained while I was doing it. I'm holding down the shift key and I'm using the left arrow to select that entire word. Now I'm going to use the mouse and put it up here, and if it's not already set to automatic, you can do this little pull down, which for some reason is not showing up on your screen. I don't know why, but I'm just selecting the first one there that says automatic. And then I'm going to leave my mouse cursor right there because it's going to be handy, and I'm going to go back to the keyboard. All right, up arrow to the next line, end key, move over one, and now I'm holding down the shift key while I left arrow across the word useful, change the color using the mouse. Up arrow and left arrow over, and then hold the shift key down while left arrowing over the word quite, change the color. Up arrow, home key, and now hold the shift key down while using the right arrow, change the color. Up one more time, end key, left arrow once, and then shift and left arrow to select the word thing. All right, so I've done number 2 there. Number 3, using only the keyboard, copy and insert the following sentence before the current number 2 in the list. All right, so I'm going to go down, and I'm pretty close there, so I'm just going to right arrow over to the beginning of that sentence. Now I'm going to hold the shift key down and press the down arrow, and that selected that entire sentence I wanted. All right, I want to copy it, so I'm going to hold the control key down now and press the letter C, and so now it's copied. Then I'm going to up arrow. I want it before number 2, so I'm going to hit home to place my cursor right there at the beginning of number 2. Then hold down the control key and press V to paste. All right, I did that one, and now that instruction that we followed became number 4, and so we're moving on to number 5. Using only the keyboard, cut and paste the green words to rearrange the following sentences into ones that make sense. Looks like this first one should say I'm starting to get the hang of this. So I'm going to hold the shift key down to select the word this, control X now to cut, end key to move to the end, left arrow 1, and control V to paste. Then left arrow over, hold the shift key down to select the word I'm, control X to cut, home key, control V to paste. All right, now that little pop-up menu thing is in my way, I'm just going to hit the escape key to get rid of that. Now down arrow, this one looks like it should say, the more I practice, the faster I'll get. So hold the shift key down to select the word practice, control X to cut, and right arrow over to where we want it, and control V to paste. Then the end key to get to the end, left arrow, and then hold the shift key down to select the word I'll, control X to cut, move it over, and control V to paste. All right, the last one is for later, but I do want to point out that this took a while, but it's because I was explaining the whole time. I was trying to allow you to see what I was doing on my keyboard. In general, when you get good at this, you can do this kind of thing really quickly. So I encourage you to keep that in mind. Thanks for watching this episode of Whittle Tweaks. I encourage you to practice using the keyboard rather than the mouse as much as possible over the next few days. It's a good habit to get into. Keep practicing and you'll get faster, one tweak at a time.